Okay, we're live. Welcome,
Oh, Jesus.
welcome to the Clutch Kick episode.
6,684.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I'm your host EG, and in the live screen, because I can't actually get Skype to stay consistent, is Greg. For those watching the live stream or the video or whatever. Otherwise, if you're listening, you're not gonna you're not gonna notice anything different.
Not really. EG's the one with the Japanese accent.
Yep. No, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything like that either. I'll get in trouble.
By who?
Our mass fan base.
Get some more death threats.
Yeah, we might get some more threats. Might have some more videos made about me, or people might delete us off Facebook and then still listen to our show. Yeah, I guess let's start with a little bit of what's been going on around and what's coming up. I know the guys from Drifting SA just posted up a poster today or this evening. It's been shared around a little bit of Locktoberfest at the Bend, fairly big drift event. Well, I think it's the second sort of Matsuri style event that they've had at that circuit since it's opened. For me, it's a shame that it's so close to Mount Gambier. 3 days. It looks like they've sort of eased up a little bit. Individual day pricing, drift school, all sorts of things going on just to gain some more interest and get as many people going out for that event as they possibly can. I don't know if South Australia's got the long weekend. Do you guys have the same long weekend as New South Wales, the first weekend of October?
I think Sol's listening, so you'll probably be able to
I meant you,
answer that
EG. Do
question.
you have it in Canberra?
Oh, in Canberra.
Yeah,
Canberra, yeah, first weekend of October, Labor Day. I think that's
yeah,
the daylight savings change
yeah. Changeover.
and the
Yeah,
end of the ski season as well. So
the ski the ski season that we've just had snow at Wakefield Park and at Pheasant's Nest
well, it's the
racetrack.
official end of the ski season, so that means less traffic through my area because my suburb is the suburb that you pass on the way to the snow from Sydney.
Uh, Fair enough. I'm not sure why anybody would be driving through Canberra to get to the snow, but do you drive through Canberra? I don't know. I came and
Yeah.
visited you the other week, but I don't know. All right, so South Australia does have a long weekend that weekend, so I'm not sure why they didn't make the long weekend correspond with the drift event, but that would be circuit logistics, not drifting South Australia, I would say. Um, but yeah, big event. EG and I are hoping to get to one of those next year or a comp or something, but if you're in Victoria or South Australia, then yeah, definitely the event to hit. I think they've had a bit of a drift overload, and I think it's only not that long before the next round of their state series too. So big things happening there. We're a week and a half away from the test event at Pheasant's Nest Circuit, so the track at Marula. I don't know why it's called Pheasant's Nest when Pheasant's Nest is
No, is it
like,
Pheasant's Nest?
yeah, but
You
Pheasant's
sure?
Nest is a suburb like a whole
No.
bunch further north of uh, a whole bunch further north. It is called that. Uh, okay, so Australia Day Drift Fest was not all that great over a long weekend. There wasn't much notice for that event either, though. So
No, that was like I think it was 2 weeks out before. I mean, there was notice, but it was 2 weeks
yeah,
out before it was entries open, and I think it was the Pheasant Wood circuit.
oh,
Anyway,
the Pheasant Wood, maybe. Solely will know because
yeah. So it was about 2 weeks before the entries had opened. So I think a lot of people knew the event was happening, but were a bit sort of umming and ahhing if it was actually going to happen and if they should plan
yeah,
for
get ready.
that.
Yeah, that's a big trek.
So I think it was more to do with just the timing of everything, and he just didn't actually um, feel so sure, and that's why people didn't really commit straight away, or they didn't commit, and then they
Yeah,
made other plans, I guess.
yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully, the first one next year will be the one that we try and go down for a drive with. My bad. It's Pheasant Wood circuit, and yeah, they looking at the pictures now. They got a bunch of snow. So, did you get snow in Canberra? I don't think you got snow in Canberra, right?
Uh,
Not the last 2 days.
I didn't get snow at my place. It did snow around town though.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're
And that wasn't from the drug dealers over the back fence?
no, the new guys, new drug dealers now.
Oh, new drug dealers? Okay.
Yeah.
So they're probably more low level, so it's just new grass and stuff like that
Well,
as
yeah, that's
opposed
what I
to snow.
heard. The rumor is that this guy is like not as high up and
Ah, okay,
he's
yeah.
a bit more cautious. So there's still some
Well, I'm glad
mean looking dude. Apparently, I haven't seen
I'm glad Paul Thorne's settled in well to living behind your house.
him. He'd be way more efficient.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
call. So yeah, we have that test event coming up in a week and a half. Are you ready?
No, I've said for like 3 weeks that I'd go do some work on my car, and I've been doing other things. Or well, actually playing with other cars, other car.
Other car? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've just got to change front tires and then maybe put a little bit of oil in it because I use a little bit of oil and I'm good to go.
I'm actually thinking if I should bring the 32.
But it overheats, mate.
Yeah.
Have you done the water pump yet?
No, but I've got a second-hand one that I'm going to put in.
You are such a fucking tight ass.
I can't. No, wait. Yeah, no, it's to do with money. It's too expensive. It's ridiculous.
To buy a water pump,
Yeah, for 34.
34.
Not
What is it? A Neo?
Neo, but not a. So it can't be one that suits 20, 25, 30. It's got to be 25 Neo because I've had issues with the ones that to suit the 25, 30, 20, 25, and 30. I had problems with them leaking.
Just put more silicon on it.
I did. That's a lot of silicon. It still leaked.
$121 on Spares Box.
For a Neo one. Are you? I know. Is that actually?
I don't know.
Hang on.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jake. I don't let Team Red Stage drive my cars anymore because they break my shit.
Sparkle box. When did that happen? Spares box.
Well, it doesn't say it's. I don't know. Well, I think you should just bring the 180 because it works.
I think overheats too.
Whatever, mate. Just stop being a pouty bitch. At least I have a car that works all day. Also coming up, and there's been more and more sort of Luke's putting it more and more into the spotlight, is that Mount Gambier's on end of next month. Adam Melzi's 180 here is slowly getting built. It looks pretty much exactly like his US car.
I know. It's cool.
Yeah, I think there's going to be an opportunity to win that car. I think it's going to be a raffle car. Man, I want to try and win.
That's going to be through Adam, isn't it? Not
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to win it so that I'm going to try and win it because if what they've posted on the DCA page is true and they're looking at doing a full pool next year with a full season, then that would be a really good car to drive in DCA. Small, responsive turboed SR, fairly light, would be perfect DCA car. So Yeah, I want to try and win that and use it as a DCA car.
We don't have any information about how much the tickets or the raffling system.
I would imagine it'll be the same way as he's run all his other ones in the US, and you buy X amount in merch and you get X amount of tickets per, X number of tickets into the draw for it.
Do you reckon? So this would be open to everyone worldwide, wouldn't it?
No,
it's not.
no. That's the same
Okay.
way. Like when he did the couple of giveaways in the US, it was only the US people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's too many sort of logistical and legal loopholes with all that sort of stuff. So, but I think in Australia it's easier than the US because you don't have to pay tax on raffles, and I don't believe you do. But maybe that's only if you're a non-for-profit. So, yeah, there's all that sort of stuff. Harry's being a smartass in the comments. And then Dale Campaign was driving at the Pro-Am Lone Star Drift event that was the day after FD, and he placed in the top 8. And they run a similar system to South Australia with the sort of qualifying battles to get yourself through. He won, from what I understand, won all his battles, all 3 of his qualifying battles, then got knocked out in the top 8.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, that track is a tough track that they were running. They were running the backwards version of the FD layout, and so it's a really big fast switch and then a big stretch between the transition and the really long sweeping hairpin. So if you don't carry the right amount of speed in transition at the right time, you don't make the next corner, and if you do it at the wrong time and you wait too long, you go flying off the back end of the track, so, or either side of the track as well. So yeah, that's a tough layout. I don't think you would have ever bothered to actually see it because you never watch FD, so you wouldn't have seen the old school layout.
The old one?
Yeah, where they ran it backwards.
No. I don't even know which course you're talking about.
The one that they ran on the weekend for
Yeah.
FD, they run it backwards. They used to run it backwards.
Yeah.
So so that slow right-hander at the very end isn't there. You just come full speed into that sweeping transition.
Yeah. So that's when they had the Wang incident, isn't it? Was that course?
No, I'm pretty sure the Wang incident was on the little bowl at New Jersey.
They all look the same. They all have those.
They all look the same. Their slowest course compared to what used to be their fastest course, yeah, definitely the same.
Their slowest course.
New Jersey is their slowest course.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Texas used to be their fastest when they ran it the other way.
All right, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember. I don't care to remember.
The transition's super fast. So, Dale went over. That was his prize from winning the DCA series last year, and that's the prize he took. And yeah, went over. It looked like he had a good time. So we keep saying we'll get guests on. Maybe at some stage we should really get Dale on. It looked like a fun trip. So
yeah.
Much else going on locally? Oh, last round of DCA Queensland was on over the weekend, and I didn't pay any attention to it, so no idea about results.
No, I didn't. I did see lots of videos that Luke posted on YouTube, but I didn't watch his videos. So.
He didn't talk much about results or anything like that.
Okay.
So no idea. Russell didn't drive, so Greg no care.
Russell's changed jobs, hasn't he?
He's not jobs. He's changed workshops, though.
As in, still the same employer? Or...
No, he's still a mechanic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
he's just not. Just not with the same. That workshop's closed, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Change in direction, I think, for the workshop manager. So.
Okay.
I'll need a new workshop in Queensland when I break my shit and take it north.
Well, I'm sure you can give it to Russell. He'll sort you out.
Well, I know, but my 350 don't break. Team
Except for
Red
when you.
Stage hasn't Team Red Stage hasn't driven it, so I'm still good, even though Jake claims that he's no longer a member. I guess I'm
Are you
more of
gonna
a
let him
member now.
drive then?
Nah.
No.
I guess I'm more.
So no
What
Jakes allowed.
the next time I see Jake will be at Mount Gambier, and not a chance in hell I'm letting him drive it there. So
What if? Okay, so no, I can't word it any other way. What would you let him drive at Marulan?
let me drive it at Marulan first and see
And you
what
consider it?
how I consider the track and everything first.
Okay.
And depends if we're running that top section or the bottom section.
I reckon we'd be switching a lot throughout the day.
Yeah, no, I know, but bottom section seems like there's not a huge amount. You got to be way offline to hit shit. The top section looks like you should be online and you hit shit.
Yeah, you know who rolled at the bottom section, don't you?
Yeah, that bottom section no longer has a massive gully and all sorts of shit. There's walls all along it. So
Okay, all right.
So that's Team Blue Sparkle stage, right?
Yeah.
So, so I think we're going to talk a little bit about FD, but before we go into FD, I went down and visited EG so that I could become a member of Team Red Stage. How cool is Connor's new shop?
Has he posted stuff about it yet?
Well, he's been spraying cars in it, so
Yeah, but I think in its entirety. I mean,
I don't know. He needs to do something on his
channel.
About his workshop. Very cool workshop though.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. Just look around for one. Are you allowed to? No, you're allowed to get one, aren't you?
Yeah, but you can't live it like the rules are very different in Sydney with living in industrial areas, and the pricing in Sydney is ridiculous. So
Connor did some research about it, and then there are some sort of what's it called, loopholes.
Yeah, just employ yourself as full-time security.
I think it's caretaker.
Yeah, caretaker or security.
Yeah.
It's in the painting video of Nick's car. Well, I haven't seen if that's come up yet or not. So, but yeah, now the rest of Team Red Stage just got to get their act together and get cool workshops. Or no, there's not enough space there for all your shit, EG. So you're stuck at home, mate.
No, I just need a bigger workshap. Actually, you never saw
excuse for shit paint.
Jake's where he grew up. So that's a massive place too, and that's in the suburb.
Yeah, I don't know. Connors is just cool, so.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's got a paint booth in there, and then the what's that? The top area.
The mezzanine has a nice,
yeah. It's pretty much like a studio apartment.
Yeah, very cool. So, then Connor's gonna have merch with his stuff too, but I just don't know how many people are gonna want to buy merch of a person who doesn't drift.
He's already sold a fair bit.
I'm joking.
So.
Yeah. Any other news really? We didn't do last week. There's not much had gone on.
Coming up.
Yeah, that's this weekend.
Is it this weekend or next weekend? No, it's this weekend because next weekend's Maroon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this weekend as well is final round of Drift Games Extreme and final round of European Drift Masters.
And then when did the video of David Egan come out?
Yeah, that was in the last 2 weeks since we've done our last show. Did you end up watching that?
The one that you shared, where it didn't really say very much.
He said a little bit.
Yeah, it really. I think if you wrote it down, all the words that were spoken onto like a piece of paper, it'd probably be half a page.
Yeah. You sort of had to sift through it a little bit, but it was just interesting to hear that he didn't own the rights to the IDC name. He sort of leased it, I guess, or borrowed it off the original guys who started it, but he never
Yeah.
took ownership of it. And then that's why he rebranded to Drift Games, was just to, cover himself if he was going to actually have a product to be able to sell if he decided to move on from it and sell. But he's, even with him moving away from it, he's not selling it. And the other interesting thing that I found was the fact that in the 6 years he ran the series, he and his team made $0 off the series because they sunk it all. If they turned a profit, it was sunk straight back into bringing big drivers out, or they were running into the red and then using other ventures to cover the cost of the series.
That sounds like a lot of drift events, though. Like
But
even
it's not good.
yeah, but that's how you actually keep pushing things along. Is like even with business, you're in the red for like the first couple of years. So you shouldn't constantly be in the red. But
Yeah,
like,
6 years of running into the red is pretty.
yeah,
And the fact that you've already picked up a product that was pre-existing as well. It's not like you started from scratch.
no, it's still like when people buy like take
Yeah,
over
of course.
businesses, then you still lose that initial cost. But
Yeah, still a very scary prospect to think. And like the reality is, he loves the sport, so that's the reason he was dumping that money back into it, and then was able to make money from other ventures to keep making it work. But I know with FD that every pit member has to have bought an accreditation to get into the event. Anybody in media has to buy an accreditation to get into the event, and it sounds like with excuse me, IDC Drift Games, that pretty much once you paid your couple of $100 entry fee, that pretty much your whole family got in there for nothing. So it sounds like they're selling themselves pretty short. So yeah, they just weren't. And I think population hurt them a little bit with the fact that I think they said their whole series was, within 2 hour drive of each location and things like that. But
it's not a very big country.
no, it's not a very big country at all. But it's, yeah, how do you run something that big, and the fact that they're bringing such big drivers and doing all that sort of stuff. So it sounds like they've.
Yeah, I thought one of the problems was they were losing support in the actual drift community.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons, and the reason that he wanted to. Sounds like he wanted to stop pushing so hard and spend burning so much time and energy himself, and that's why they want to focus on that being a Drift Games being a lifestyle brand and party events, rather than him putting so much time and energy into a competition format. So it sounds like there's still going to be a competition going on, but he knows information but wouldn't share it. And at the peak he was running 6 different series at the same time, and now he's dropped it down and he's only running Drift Masters European Championship. So, and that's gone from strength to strength. And the marketing thing was very interesting, that he had spent around $20,000 in the last couple of years on trying to get IDC and Drift Games out there using social media platforms, because it had gotten good reach in the early days of Facebook. Facebook wanted more money for it, but because European Drift Masters was new, its organic reach was huge, and they'd only spent about $200 on marketing for European Drift Masters, which has bigger reach than Drift Games now. So it's just crazy to think that that's where we're sort of stuck at the moment with all of it. But I sort of see the same thing when we see posts come up, and Revolution Motorsport still gets really good organic reach, and they haven't been hit with that sort of stuff. But something like a Hi-Tech that surged when they started running the South Circuit events and got a huge number of people following the pages, get barely any likes or comments on their posts. And I think that's purely because Facebook is stemming the flow of traffic through that page, because it surged during the time when it was free to do so, and Revolution sort of peaked during the time organically during the time that you've had to pay to get that reach. So you sort of see it from that point of view, and then you sort of put it back to something, you know, that's not as in our face with European Drift Masters, because we're on the other side of the planet. But yeah, it sort of makes sense that you see it and you're like, how do promoters continue to run when it's going to cost you more to obtain people to show up than you're actually going to make from running the event? So is it really worth trying to run the event at all?
Yeah,
Do you
unless
agree?
there's another, I don't know, like how
Yeah,
people have,
we're not marketing experts on
yeah,
this stuff, but yeah.
yeah, like simplistically, yeah, it just
Well,
wouldn't happen.
yeah, and we're trapped by that now, and I think that's where Drift really needs your organic reach through guys like your Adam LZs and Luke doing his vlogs now and things like that, is just getting people with a bigger name showing up to events that'll educate more people than trying to pay for clicks on Facebook or Instagram, really. Unless you can score being on a news network or something like that, which is still going to have better reach than reaching your community than your Facebook and Instagrams. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that I think about when I see it, and then you hear examples like Drift Games, and you're just like, if those guys can't make some of that stuff work, could you imagine the amount of shit going on in the background for smaller organizations? So yeah, it's interesting.
You heard more. So most of the stuff you heard from the when he did the Driftcast, Maximum Driftcast
Yeah,
podcast. Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't listened
yeah.
to that yet.
Oh,
So.
that's okay. You say you hadn't listened to it. Yeah, that's where all that came from. So yeah, it's when a series that people think's that successful has got so much going on in the background. You know, where does it leave? Where does it leave everybody else?
Yeah, it's interesting to think because I would have thought, just looking at it as an outsider, he was doing pretty well. Like it kept growing and things kept improving, and then he'd get particular venues, which is quite different.
Yeah,
And then so it's not like, it didn't seem to look like he was doing very bad from an outsider's point of view. But then suddenly, it seems like everything's turned upside down. Like he's
yeah.
out, and
When they've got their biggest event they've ever had this weekend, and they've done it in multiple waves. Once the first wave of grandstand seating sold out, they pushed for another wave of grandstand seats, and they wanted X amount of tickets sold by a certain date. Then they would justify the cost of building another grandstand because they've moved to a different section of the circuit, and the fact that circuit's been super happy to help them lay more tar and bits and pieces to use new sections. But yeah, and I'm sure they'll probably make a bit of money from this event because, or no, they'll probably end up breaking even depending on how crazy they go with it, just to be, this is our final, this is our final thing. Good luck to the guys coming through next to see if you can do it just as good because the community's pissed us off, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm still not sure that how worthwhile it all will be at the end. I'm sure it'll be worthwhile because it will have broken even at least, but
it's probably not so much worthwhile money wise, or worthwhile like saying lifetime achievement kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's more what it is. And he sounds like he's super excited for where European Drift Masters is headed, with Red Bull TV doing lots of fancy things and adding more and more cameras, more staff, trying to make it so that they can talk to every driver on the grid before and after a battle while they're still sitting in their car, with direct line of communication and things like that. So, still definitely some massive steps forward. And, maybe that's what drifting in Europe needed more than anything. The local comps probably need to stay a little less out there now that sort of the worldwide drifting bubble is sort of, I don't want to say it's burst a little bit, but it's sort of it's showing more and more that you don't need those massive competitions in really small pockets, and it seems like a more broad, big competition with lots of little supporting competitions in their own areas will bring, the guys who can make it as a professional and make their programs work can then have somewhere to move on to, and traveling around and getting, bigger populations in different sections seems to work better. And they've got big crowds in certain countries, and most of their events for European Drift Masters seems like hitting them once and getting all that, as much money from that section as you can. It seems like the best bet, and then you sort of have your, you can just have your small sort of feeder competitions, but not try and spend the budget on live streaming and doing all sorts of crazy things, that the non-essentials, I guess. Driver events rather than spectator events.
Yeah, I'm starting to think live stream is kind of essential
For
like a particular level, and I think
you're telling me for say a Drift Challenge Australia, a live stream is essential,
yes,
but it's sustainable without it.
yes, but still, like, it doesn't need to be because you know how there's some
I don't think it's
extremely high production
yeah,
quality. I don't
yeah,
think it
but I
needs to
don't think
be
it's
that high.
I
I
don't
don't think it
even
needs to
think
be that.
I don't even think it's essential for that.
I think you can get away with,
Nah,
besides the labor costs, I think you
I think
can
you
get
can
away with a live stream.
I think you can get away without it at all.
No, like the cost of a live stream.
No, but I just mean I think you can get away without needing a live stream at all.
Yeah, but it's more
But
promotion, and then the cost is
but
quite
but,
low
but this
if
is
you
the
can
thing.
get
But this is what
someone
I'm
to.
saying. That's provided
Yeah.
you want to grow it to something else. I'm saying, is it sustainable without it? Yes, it's sustainable without it.
Yeah, it's sustainable without it, but as an essential, depending on the level of competition, I think you'd want it because you want people to get hyped about it. You want people to
Yeah,
come
of
in
course.
and
But
watch
at the
and
end of the
say,
day,
"I want to do that. I want to compete."
yeah. But still, it's still going to be a minority of people who are a spectator who become a driver in that series, and really, if you're not already interested in cars, then you're probably not going to go to some sort of small time feeder series type event unless it's in a town that not much else goes on. So like at Mount Gambier, we pulls a good crowd because it's something different that they don't see all the time.
Yep.
But I just don't think it's essential, as in where it needs to be part of the budgeting. If that's what needs to be cut to keep it alive, then I think it's the thing that can be cut to keep it alive.
I think. Well, that's what I'm saying is I think you can cut it to a level that costs you less than $200 a day.
But my other reason for saying it is we just spoke about the fact that it's harder and harder to get reach without paying for it.
Yeah.
We see it with this as well. If you're not paying for the reach, then it gets hard to justify doing it unless you want to actually pay for it. But to pay for it, you need sponsorship dollars to pay for it, or in the case of a drift series, drivers have to pay for it. So we either need rich drivers or sponsored drivers.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like at a minimum, you don't need to have that sort of paid promotion. You just need to have the stream available if people choose to watch it when they choose to watch it.
Yeah, but that's provided it's even worth bothering using somebody's labor to do it.
I think it'd cost you one person and about $200.
Yeah, but again,
if you
not
had
necessarily
the
essential.
equipment available.
Yeah, but one person isn't worth only $200. Say for Luke with Mount Gambier, if he's brought somebody down, put somebody in accommodation for 3-4 days, fed them, that's no longer
about. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That labor cost is it's hard because I think it depends on the location, and then it also affects how thorough they are. Like if they're not very thorough or they're doing multiple tasks, and that stream's going to be affected. And I think it's going to probably be more negative.
And that's not me saying don't stream. That's me just saying I don't think it's necessarily essential for a drift series to have a live stream.
Look, I'm not saying all of them, but like something like DCA, I think it.
Yeah, okay. DCA is probably a bad example because it's national when it's going. But I more meant the fact that it's a sustainable drift series that the drivers are covering the costs of everything that's going on around them, and without sponsors, it's still every event still runs.
Yeah, well, like
Uh,
that would be. I think that would be like Rayleigh, where
yeah.
you don't. I don't think it's necessary. I think there's still a good event, but it's just not necessary. Like
Yeah,
it's that
don't waste
level where
volunteers and bodies.
you're pretty limited. You're kind of a bit budget conscious because you've got you're trying to cater
5,
for
6 staff members. That's it.
yeah yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we're on
So
the same page with it. So yeah, DCA may be a bad example, but the fact that still on a national level, it's still sustainable, and you can definitely get pull some crowds and do all that. But yeah, I just think it's the social media thing is getting harder and harder to actually get proper organic reach
yeah,
without spending money.
it's interesting.
I'm
Just
not sure.
yeah, with YouTube and um, I just saw like a quick video and some like this really strange document about how YouTube actually tries to display videos to people or like promote certain people.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think the best thing you do is you've got to pay the money or do the work to promote yourself.
Yeah, and I think networking is one of the biggest is just making sure that, hey, I want to grow my name. How can I go and pull my knee pads out and get on Jake Jones's you know vlog? How can I get on Adam LZ's vlog? How can I get on somebody with X amount of reaches
Yeah.
thing, and use that sort of way? Like there'd be more money or more to gain from doing that, I think, than paying for reach.
Yeah, well, just having so there was one time when Alexi shared one of my videos. So normally my videos are a couple of thousand um, views, but then when Alexi shared it, that reached probably as soon as he shared it, probably 200,000 views.
Yeah, but it's the fact that that's targeted as well, because people who follow that stuff would be interested in your content. You pay Facebook X amount of money to promote your shit. They're going to promote it to the age group of people and the demographic, but it doesn't mean it necessarily would interest them. It's the age group and the gender and the area that would potentially be interested in it, but doesn't mean it necessarily is the people interested. Where yeah, somebody like Alexi's is all people who would be interested in that type of thing. Whether or not you gain their interest is a different story, but it's still content that should interest them.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot more to be gained from that sort of stuff. But really, I think a lot of Australia has missed the boat with some of within the Australian drift scene has missed the boat with getting that huge organic reach to start with, and it's just leveraging yourself at the right time with the right people and taking every opportunity. And when I say that, it's like I know Jackson Snell's starting to do his vlog thing, and I don't subscribe yet, so don't tell him. I don't think I've watched any of
He's
them.
probably still going to get ice cream, so it's all right.
And he's probably starting at the right time, and Troy's been doing his thing for a little while. The next big move for those guys is to show up to Mount Gambier with Adam there and try and get a featured in Adam's video somehow, and it mention that they've got a channel.
Crash into him.
Yeah, something like that. Don't crash into the car. Don't crash into the car. I'm gonna win.
But you didn't make an impact. So
yeah, but
yeah.
that would gain more followers than than paying for reach.
Crash throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah, or do that sort of thing. Troy could probably get away with it, except he's got another car in the build, so it's probably not so bad. I don't even know if he's entered. Jackson probably not so much. The Ute probably get fairly expensive to start fixing. It'd probably be cheaper to reshell than to replace, considering they're like one big piece on the side. So
those two cars are probably unique to Americans.
Yeah.
So,
and then you got somebody like a Kale Scott who sounds like he's entering and will just happily ride off the car. So
I think he's had the same car the whole time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not ridden off.
No, I'm saying he'll happily write this car off at Mount Gambier. So
I think you mean he'll use every part of the car.
he'll massage it everywhere. So I think, yeah, I think that's important for the direction that people start to go with this, and the fact that it's like the sport's featured in so much stuff. Like Rob White just did the commercial for Super Cheap Auto with the Mighty Car Mods guys, and they're sliding around a Mustang with Castrol down the side for part of the ad. Like drifting is still used and is in mainstream media all the time, but there's just not much flow through to events just because people just don't know events are happening. And even if you paid money to try and promote those events, I'm just not sure it's getting the reach that it needs and sort of it deserves. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of sitting back and spending some time to see what the best approach to it all is. And yeah, I think just trying to get more and more of your own circles involved is probably more important. So yeah, FD over the weekend. I know you were bitching about it a fair bit in our group chat.
Yep.
I don't know how much of it you watched, but
I watched. No,
top
yeah, you're
16
right.
went really long.
No, I watched Pro.
Yeah.
But I did sort of get bored occasionally, so I can't actually remember when I turned away and lost focus on it when I actually came back and watched it. The stream was really bad as well. I don't know, was it like that for you?
Yeah, there was a lot of dropouts, or just where it sort of froze up. It was
Yeah, and
also
then you
hard.
refreshed it and then like, oh shit, missed it or whatever.
No, no, that yeah, you think that was you doing that, but that's just how the stream was. We had two devices going within eye distance of each other, and uh, they were freezing up at exactly the same time as each other. Just going to go back and address Will's question about do any
Yep.
drift comps events in Australia pay for Facebook or online ads? Can't say I've seen any sponsored posts, even from High-Tech. I feel like there have been previously,
Yes, there have been.
but I don't know of late.
I think it's very inconsistent because it may be the way that Facebook promotes things, but I have seen them because the way that Facebook promotes is you pay a certain amount of money for a certain amount of reach. So as soon as that's
Yeah,
run up, then it just goes back to the normal. So if you didn't get hit by that paid period, then you wouldn't see that sponsored
yeah,
post. So, but I know that yes, speaking to some organizers, they have actually paid for a certain amount, which might not be very much. Like I think one of the times is like $50. I mean, the guy put in, which probably only gets you a couple of thousand views, maybe.
yeah.
I
And
have no idea. Yeah.
I know with Australian Drift Club we used to do paid reach, and actually I think Australian Drift Club still has one of the biggest reaches of any drifting page in Australia. They've got almost 50,000 followers, and they get huge number of comments and stuff like that when they've paid for reach. But again, I'm still not sold on how organic some of that reach is. It's hard to know how much is real people and how much is just Facebook being like tagging accounts and all that sort of stuff in it. So maybe I'm a bit of a skeptic on some of it, but yeah. Other than World Time Attack and Australian Drift Club, I know High-Tech was for a while, but I'm not sure how much this year they've done. They've done much reach, like paid reach for that. It'd be interesting to see. I know you're involved with Drifting SA, Will. So it'd be interesting to see if you guys did it. What sort of, how much it actually helped. But as I said, it's that's got to, however much you spend in that's got to turn back into X amount more money through the gate. And I'm just still not sure with how much money for how much reach is expected now. That, and I think the more followers you have on a page, the more you're expected to pay, per reach sort of thing. It just gets somebody with a marketing degree needs to be doing a whole bunch of this stuff. But I just feel even in general now, I see less and less sort of big events showing up on my Facebook feed. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure that answer probably didn't help all that much, but I just know a few clubs were doing it previously. Yeah, so FD over the weekend, it got a little bit slow because there was a few big accidents.
There was a lot of crashes, wasn't there? There was
So
a couple of posts afterwards about those crashes.
well, Vaughan Gittin Jr. rode off a car on that concrete wall the first year that they ran that concrete wall without tyre barriers in front of it. So they run the wall similar to Japan does, where you put your sort of more lightweight style concrete barriers in and use it as a buffer. I know D1 was using them for a while because Daigo went through them a couple of times. So rather than using the massive ones that barely move that we often use here in Australia, they're using sort of half-weighted ones that are enough that they're not going to the car's not going to go all the way through it, but it's enough that the car will push it back and slow down. But I think when Vaughan hit it, he pushed one wall back and then hit the other one sort of with the rear of his car dead on.
That was in qualifying, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was early in that event a few years ago. Yeah. I think it was the first year they ran that layout with the backwards layout, and he didn't end up being able to drive Irwindale that year. But yeah, there was a lot of big wrecks. The Matt Field wreck, I follow him on Instagram, and all he's done is destroyed his rear fenders and bent his front and rear bash bar. The car is perfect still.
Oh really?
Yeah, like no problem with any suspension. Did no damage to anything else other than the rear bash bar being a little bit bent. Even his rear hatch is still perfect. So
did he spin around? Did he?
Yeah, he did he did a massive 360 along the face of the tire wall. But I think that's what saved him. The car having no car-on-car contact and him also not making it deep enough to hit the concrete wall was good. Forrest had a similar one in practice as well, where he did a Matt Field style pirouette along the face of the wall, but came out of it with just blowing up bumpers. But yeah, the really big one was Peter and Frederick, and it's crashes like that and how hard the sport is being pushed that you start to realize how fucking wasteful drifting is. I was sitting there watching it and I'm like, this sport is just so wasteful. What are you thinking?
I'm trying to remember the crash, but I can't.
Peter bumped Frederick coming into that along the wall, and Osbo went into the wall, and then Peter went into the back of him with the side of the car, and both cars were pretty fucked.
Osbo was leading on track.
Yeah, he did, but supposedly rear subframe's been shifted and all sorts of stuff. So they taped torches to the front of the car to use them as headlights and and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it sounds like they got the car driving fairly straight, but nothing's sort of in the right spot.
Yeah, right.
And Peter's car looks like, well, he's had a couple of massive hits this year already. So that was a brand new shell, and I'm pretty sure might be its one and only season. But they've got another car that's I don't know if they end up leaving that car there, because originally they had a third car that was a left-hand drive as well, but I don't know if that was the car that ended up on the. I think that might have ended up being the car that
went to Europe.
Back to Europe, but I also know that was last year. They still had 3 cars as well, and these were the new chassis this year. So I wonder if they've still got a third car over there. So hopefully they do, because that car's going to be a little bit bent. So Osbo
I reckon it's fixable though.
Oh, it's all fixable, but whether or not you spend the time in the next, what have they got, maybe a month to get it up and running is not a whole huge amount of time. So
those Waterhouse cars are really simple.
Yeah, of course.
Just
but
watching their vlog, Candy Machine, whatever.
Yeah, the Candy Machine.
When they were doing the sort of like the quick walk around of the car, there's really not much to it. Like I think you can fix it pretty easily.
Yeah. The issue is the body. Like if you've bent the actual, not from the, you know, you'd be better off smashing the strut towers than anything else, and that's why I think FD's rules with not bracing the strut towers to the firewall is probably a good thing, because it means you can, if you've got a S15 shell or another shell of another car, you can just, same as Rad Dan did early in the year, you just cut that whole strut off and weld in a new
Yep.
strut.
Yeah.
And that's the only time you can modify from behind the strut towers in FD is when you're doing that, pretty much. It's
Yeah.
cutting out and replacing it with another strut that's the same. But yeah, if you've bent the actual shell itself, though, you start to run into issues, because he took a hit in the side. But my question with it is, how long before you really need, like, battles like that? There was another one that something similar. Oh, like James Dean and Chelsea, where telemetry's has got to start coming into play a little bit, so you can track speeds and see if there are changes and things like that. Because when these guys are driving that
That's
close to each other,
when Chelsea was leading.
yeah, there was. I know
There was a
you.
lot of crashes.
Oh yeah, there was one with him and Odie, where Odie did the massive jump over the front wheels in the last corner.
Oh yeah, that's right. He went up, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah, but that wasn't the
yeah. There was actually, yeah. The more I think about it, the more, uh, yeah. Zolly said FD needs it for the dodgy tactics. I don't even know if it's necessarily dodgy tactics. I sort of, you just look at the way. So James wasn't able to pull away from Chelsea at the end, but then Chelsea was able to put so much smoke out and pull away from James. But it's the fact that I just think, and you didn't like the way the Mustangs rotated, but I think those,
Chelsea. Yeah, he
yeah,
was super slow. Did you
but
see him?
yeah, he was slow at certain times and then fast at others, and that's what I found surprising. But I'm starting to think more and more, with the fact that they're barely getting through 2 laps. Do you want to qualify high? Because you roast you kill your tires in your lead run more than you kill your tires in your chase run.
To
Well,
me,
I think.
I don't think it matters. Oh, in that sort of way.
Yeah. So for me, I think if
'cause it's always
Chelsea
the
had
highest
to, I think if
qualifier.
Chelsea was a higher qualifier in that battle and had to lead first, he would have roasted his tires out on his lead runs and would have had barely any tire left for his chase runs. And James probably would have pulled a gap on him, because James just wasn't producing the tire smoke that Chelsea was. So therefore, wouldn't have been killing his tires as much. Where that also opened the door where he was able to keep up with James, but then had tires left to drive away. Where I think his earlier battles where he was leading first, he tended to be slower on his chase. So yeah, it's interesting, and I think it'll start to come into play a little bit. Other than the fact, I think they've got a few points on the line for qualifying, and hence why guys are trying to qualify well. But then James also almost
In that
faced
sort of tactic, yeah.
the biggest problem with your top 32 format, with the fact that he almost got knocked out by Matt Field in top 16, because he had to verse the 16th qualifier, where if he qualified a little bit down the order, he would have been versing potentially somebody a little bit higher in the order, but also could have been versing somebody way further down the order. Either way, he was taking on Forrest or Matt Field, who are two really good drivers, where you qualify a little bit more in the middle of that upper group. It all starts to come into play, really.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's probably, you should think about it, but yeah, kind of, yeah, that's sort of a tactic that I don't really want to see.
Exactly, but this is the problem with now the fact that they're barely getting through 2 laps on a pair of tires on some tracks. or pretty much all the tracks and doing all that sort of stuff. And really, it's only an issue in your top tier series where they're where they're barely getting through 2 laps on a pair of tires. But I think that sort of stuff in the future is going to have to come into play, or the higher qualifiers should get to decide if they want to lead or chase. You make a decision whether or not you make a decision as the higher qualifier each battle, which the positioning that you want to take.
It would give you an incentive to actually qualify higher.
Yeah, because you get to decide. I want to, for certain battles, I want to be in front or I want to be behind.
Yeah.
I think Harry's commenting about people left foot braking through the first corner. It doesn't honestly, it doesn't really slow down the car that much. It actually settles the car, and you don't have to pedal the car so much. You're able to actually stay on throttle, so it sort of balances itself out really. It actually makes, if anything, I'd rather be chasing a guy sitting on left foot brake than sitting on a guy trying to not left foot brake, and he's on and off the throttle trying to actually put the car where he wants to put it with throttle input instead of using braking input. On a big open sweeping corner like that, I want the guy in front of me driving around that corner as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
It's a long corner.
On a long sweeping corner, but that's just... I'm not really a fan of those corners.
No, I know.
So,
but that track is a big track too. That's a big drift track.
Yeah, but really you should...
What are you thinking? Can't spit it out, mate.
I think, like, Harry's got a point. Like, you shouldn't really be... Like, if the course is set up right, you shouldn't need to do that. But the nature of that course is to keep fluidity. You probably have to do that.
Yeah, and the fact that they were trying to get them to run the outside of the track, so the risk of dropping in off that was high.
Yeah, and at that level with everyone else, I think people chasing should expect it.
Yeah.
I still don't like it though.
Yeah, but I think it's just the nature of a corner that long. It's the same as the bowls. It's really similar to a bowl. Really, it's just a long sweeping corner. The only difference was people were willing to do bigger, snappier entries because there wasn't a risk of hitting anything on the way out the back. The one thing that killed me most over the weekend, and why I think telemetry needs to be, and just an overhead drone camera or even the FPV drone used more, was there was a lot of guys missing that third outside zone. So there was on the right hander there was an outside zone.
Yeah.
As you came into the straight section, there was an outside zone, and then when you transitioned across the track, that's the third outside zone before you go to the inner clip.
Yeah. But you can clearly see that the judges, I'm pretty sure, was sitting on that.
No, not along the wall.
No.
There was 2 outside zones on the first corner. So there was the outside zone in mid corner, and then there was an outside zone as you came out of the corner. No, so you had initiation, then
that was an outside.
But that's initiation. Then there was a zone as you came, like as you were driving through the main part of the first corner, and then as they came past that little wide section, and you hit the rumble strip, there was that outside zone right in front of the cameras, and then as you switched back across was the third zone, before you got to the inner clip.
Oh, the bit where people lifted a lot.
Yeah, or they were like grabbing handbrake and doing all sorts of fancy shit because they just couldn't see the next marker. There was a lot of guys. Clip. Yeah, but there was a lot of guys missing that outside zone before.
And they tried to extend it, but it was really hard to see. Like it's in a really tough spot.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying. Like the drone that they used for FD Japan would have been way better.
That's the only sort of position I think you can see it from the outside of the track.
Yeah.
Besides actually being inside.
Yeah. But I also just think that if they got rid of that inside clip and put more weight on that outside zone, the line through that section would just be better. And then I think people would be coming into that wall probably with less speed, to be honest. Because you'd end up doing a bigger switch back and probably a slightly later switchback, so you've had to wash off more speed through that third outside zone before you come along the wall.
A later switchback.
Well, yeah, because people have actually bothered to hold out rather than trying to dive in for the inner clip.
I don't think you'd want a late switchback.
Not late so much, but you'd be holding more angle through that where that inner clip is. You'd be holding more angle. When Chelsea went full crazy mode, those sort of
on the practice lap.
No, even when he went against James and he was just like full on, just like fuck it, I'm gonna do everything. When he was almost not, the camera angle made it look backwards, but when he had a lot of angle coming past that in the clip instead of being on sort of a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, I thought he made a mistake looking at that.
Just because it looked very different to everybody else's runs.
It looked like he over-rotated, but just saved it.
No, but it looked like he put the car there on purpose, so...
Yeah... I don't think so. I think he extended it. He just went, oh shit. And then, I made it. Yeah, cool. And then it flicked back the other way.
But Ken Gucci made the comment on Instagram that he thinks that FD shouldn't be running inner clips anywhere. That you should just be trying to run the widest line you possibly can around an entire circuit and open the door for a chase. So
FD?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. To me, I think it's all about smoke. So the more amount of smoke you can produce, and then...
Well, a car that
seems like amount of angle doesn't really...
That track doesn't suit a matter, but that track sucks for angle.
But you can set it up so it actually makes, like, you can get angle. You can set the clips up and...
The distance between... You need to get on a sim and drive that track. The distance between where the switch is and the hairpin is massive.
Yeah, but
there's also a small kink in it too.
Yeah, but that's because there is that necessity for people to like stay sideways or whatever. It doesn't.
So you're saying you want them to do a straight and then a massive flick?
It's not straightened, but you can stay on the gas, and if it naturally straightens, so if it looks like you just went straight for a grip.
Yeah.
I think, but it's because.
But could you imagine? Yeah, but could you imagine trying to explain that to diehard drift fans? Like, this is the way we want it done, and they're gonna be like, they're not drifting anymore. No, but you got
drifting.
People who don't. Yeah, but
That's because it got explained and educated incorrectly to begin with.
Yeah, but if you got to remember, like, that sort of thing is not. It's for the masses. It's not for.
It doesn't matter. It's still wrong. It's like calling a burnout a drift because this is a burnout. It's not drifting.
But if you can use it to market yourself, then it's okay.
But it gets marketed negatively. Like, you look at people and then they'll say, oh yeah, this guy was drifting around a car park when all they're doing was a burnout. And then it gets on the news, oh, he was drifting. It's like, that's not drifting. It's going like 5 k's an hour, just burning the rear tires. That's not drifting.
Connor, back in your box, mate. Front wheel drives don't drift. Yeah, I don't know. I think that track needs to be looked at from a point of view in the fact that there's a few just logistical things there that aren't that great.
Have you been to that track in real life?
No.
No, okay.
But if you look at it on Google Maps, the road course has got all sorts of different sections and all that, and they could go to a St. Louis style layout. Well, not like layout, but the fact that they could use the pre-existing grandstands in other parts of the circuit if they laid some extra tar.
What was the circuit called?
Texas Motor Speedway.
Motor Speedway.
So, yeah, but I thought... So, back to my original point about the crashes.
Yep.
So, we're talking $100,000 plus race cars. Even the Warthouse cars, as basic as they are, have a lot of tech in them. Like, electronics and all that is worth probably almost half of the budget on that car. But the fact that now that the battle's getting so close, the guys are pushing so hard, a small tap like Peter put on Frederick's car can result in two $100,000 race cars basically being written off,
Yep.
probably both with potentially, I don't know, $40,000-$50,000 worth of damage to each car. And I understand that that's, everybody's like, rubbing is racing, all that sort of stuff. But normal race cars aren't being put that close together consistently and constantly through a whole race, unless it's sprint car or pretty much just oval racing of some variety where the cars are driving that close together all the time. Your normal circuit racing, there's gaps, there's you're going for clean overtakes and that sort of stuff, where the aim is to get as close as possible to the car in front of you, which more chance than not will result in contact. Where circuit racing, you're not trying to get as close to the other car as you can, you're trying to get past the car in front of you. Unless it's NASCAR where they're trying to use it to draft and do all that sort of stuff, or sprint car or like dirt oval racing where the track surface is inconsistent and can cause cars to move closer together. But at what point as these battles get more and more wild, like these are two of your best drivers in that series, or two of the best drifters in the world, really. You can't deny that these two guys aren't two of the best in the world, and that's the end result is, let's call it 100K in damage.
I think it's just
It's the nature of the beast, of course.
Yeah.
But if everybody continues to try and be FD or a whatever, then
Yeah.
it just can't continue.
Yeah.
I think there can be one or two series in the world like it, but I just don't think it can be every series.
I think we mentioned it before, like every series has a place.
Yeah.
And that place in that series is to build
But
a
I just
crazy
wonder
expensive car, do burnouts, and
But I wonder if even FD can sustain that.
Well, it's silly then that they keep pushing that level then.
Yeah. But kind of saying Rallycross cars are pretty well designed for it with with the way their body kits and stuff are designed, and again they're not being asked to do some of the really dumb shit that's being asked of some of these cars.
Rallycross is the same as circuit. Like you're not
you're not purposely trying
to stay close to them. You're just trying to go past them.
Yeah,
so
you might be close to them. Yeah, the intent. You might get close to them, but your intention is still to get past them.
Overtake them. Yeah.
Yeah. Where. Yeah, and I think even European Drift Masters pushes those boundaries a little bit. And there's been a lot of comparisons this year of FD to European Drift Masters, but at the end of the day, I think FD's still running. A lot of tracks are a lot faster than the layouts that they're running at European Drift Masters. So the end consequence, if you hit a wall at a slower speed, is still not nearly as much as at some of the speeds these guys are ending up in walls. So
yeah, but that's FD. Like that's what.
Oh no,
that's
yes.
what-
Again,
that's what
nature
those-
of the beast.
That's what kind of.
That's what they're promoting themselves at.
Yeah, that's what. I don't think it's the nature. I think it's more. That's their
Style.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's better or it's worse, but it's just different. So I think when people are throwing it and being like, the tracks are more exciting at European Drift Masters over FD, it's sort of like it's just two different beasts, really. And then the end result with that sort of speed and where you've stuck in a wall halfway through an open, fast-flowing course is cars getting written off. Where European Drift Masters, every clipping point might be on a wall, but you've gone in a whole lot slower, and I think you drive it differently knowing that every clip is a wall, as opposed to a track where, the first section you're like, okay, fast, free flowing, I can go crazy. You get caught up in it, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, somebody's stuck a wall there, even though I've done 15 laps of this track this weekend. So
I haven't watched enough of European Drift Masters. I mean, sort of watch bits here and there.
Yeah.
And their courses are quite different, I think.
Yeah, very different.
But that's because they're not stuck on ovals.
Yeah.
Or that sort of oval, even if it isn't an oval, like it's usually in an oval or like
Yeah,
related
yeah,
to it. Yeah,
yeah,
somehow.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's the infrastructure they've got. Like the reality is,
yeah,
of course, everybody would love to show up to some place and design their own
drift that'd be
courses,
cool. Yeah.
and I think FD would, of all the series, would love to be able to do that. Of course, they'd probably, even if they were given unlimited budget, I think one of their tracks each year would always be a NASCAR oval of some variety, because that's their roots. I think they would just do it as their, because that's what, that's where they started, and
Yeah.
I think that's fair to go back and do that.
No, I
Uh,
think it's good because you have variety. As long as you
yeah,
have variety,
yeah,
then that's it. That's one of many courses instead of
yeah.
this is the main style of course is an oval.
But yeah, my concern is the fact that it's still, even on a professional level like your FD, is still not big time motorsport and riding off. I guess it's lucky it's two teams that are in a position probably to get their shit fixed, because some of the other teams you wouldn't be seeing them again at the next round.
Yeah, so it's bad because then you get competitors not turning up. That means you don't have a full field. And you get people disappointed because there's no full field.
Well, and
So
it's two cars are in the top 5 of the championship.
yeah, and then so it's probably something that the promoters need to consider. Like
Yeah, well, this is what I'm
they
saying.
shouldn't
Like,
push them that far and to that sort of well that yeah
if the
like you're
cars
right they need
if the cars were cheaper,
that's sustainability is
yeah,
they need
it
to
would.
consider rather than I want to promote the best the fastest blah, blah, blah. It's like you can still do that but just like don't
Yeah, don't put
push
your
them.
cars at risk. The
Yeah,
cars are already at risk of smashing into each other hard.
well yeah that means they need cheaper cars like they
Yeah,
need replaceable cars
yeah,
like economically replaceable cars.
yeah. But the reality is, then nothing's economically replaceable when you start putting tens of $1,000s of parts on a car.
Yeah, well, that's why I think there's a point where
Yeah, there's a
some
tipping
people
point for
would,
sure.
yeah, use that uh, their ability to be able to replace more cars more quick and others not, and yeah, it's still like it's difficult. So
Yeah, and I think, look, the advantage in a big series like that is the death gap thing doesn't really exist. So you're not getting the massive impacts car on car unless a car's hit a wall and been spat out in front of another car.
yeah,
Um, but it really just seems like, honestly, that wall has been the worst part for a lot of the accidents that have happened over the last few years, because a lot of the other walls seem to be glancing blow type situations and they sort of run out of speed together.
do you think they put too many tires there
No,
because
maybe it's flipped
the,
a car a couple of years ago.
no because like you
The tires have
notice
flipped a car.
you notice the lead car the person that goes in is actually better off than the person generally. I'm not saying every time, but like,
Yeah,
and it's always been they've gone in, they've been thrown out, they've hit the other car, and then the other car's like received a lot of the force rather than the other one sort of spinning around and
yeah, yeah. I think because people on Maximum Driftcast discussion page were saying that, why didn't they push the wall back a couple more feet and all that sort of stuff. But I think nobody appreciates the speed that cars are coming in there at until there's a massive accident like that, because you sort of look at it on the camera, you've seen them come through there a bunch of times, and you're like, oh, it doesn't seem that fast. And then when a car rotates 3 times after hitting the wall,
yeah,
that car must have been moving quickly.
yeah.
That's
And I
sort of
think
how
it probably
F1
adds
gets as well.
excitement. Yeah, like it adds excitement because
Yeah.
people love crashes and that's it gets shared around a lot. It's probably good for promotion. Like
Oh, of
probably
course.
FD has had so many shares of all those crashes because everyone likes to see crashes. Even when they like go, oh no, that sucks. Like, but it's like, yeah, I still watch it.
Yeah, but again, if cars start then missing rounds of events because of it, yeah, it's a bit scary. Yeah, if you look at the track map, I'd from my understanding, it sounded like there's a bit of a slope just behind it, and they've sort of got it as far off the track as they can, and it really is outside of the zone that you should be in anyway. But it really just comes down to the nature of the angle that the cars are coming in there at and bumping off each other on the way through. So yeah, I don't know. The more I looked at it, the more I thought, Jesus Christ, these guys are just burning through so many resources when things like that happen. And it's more the fact that it's like not, I don't know how to articulate it. It's sort of, it's not like the drivers have fucked up in a way that they shouldn't have fucked up. They've fucked up in a way that, is expected. Like him making that bump on that car on a transition, trying to transition hard, is good.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it resolved in
got it in a massive. It's not like a car understeering on entry and then smacking a wall because the guy's just completely fucked up the entry.
Yeah.
Like that sort of stuff at that level shouldn't be happening unless you've had a mechanical, and then there's been other things that have led to that accident. But a car bumping another car after a hard transition, trying to get back on door is, is to be expected, and what they're being asked to do. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with both of those cars if the other Corolla demo car ends up being sacrificed to be used as the car for that last round, or if the TC that's sitting in Toyota's museum gets pulled out and used as the car for the last round for Osbo. So there's a couple of options there, but I don't think they've got a car for next season that they're building that would be ready in time. I would have a feeling those guys potentially have a Supra that's being built, but I can't imagine. I can't imagine that would be close to being ready if that is what's happening with that team.
Yeah, that's what I thought, they'd have that car for this season, but I think there was a few questions about it when they brought out the Corolla again.
Yeah, and those guys are in the hunt for the championship, and I think they wanted to nail the Corolla first, but the Corolla got nailed first. So yeah, it's a bit sucky, and yeah, I want to see James win the championship 3 times in a row, but yeah, Jake's saying that they are, and I know they've been doing the 1,000 horsepower build on the B58 motor on the YouTube channel, but I just can't imagine that car's supposed to be ready for Irwindale. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to just cut some shit and weld some shit and get the car tracking straight. But
is the next one going to be the last round?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same weekend as World Time Attack Challenge, so only only a month away.
When's SEMA then? SEMA's
just after it.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks after.
I thought SEMA usually fell the same time as World Time Attack.
No. FD final was always the same weekend as World Time Attack for whatever reason. It's been like that for a while now. SEMA was falling on the same time as something else that was on out here, I feel like. But yeah, just I don't know. It's just like, I know FD is, as much as it kills you, is the top tier of drifting in the world at this current time. Biggest, fastest gripped up drift cars in the world. Like, it might not be the most competitive series, or people say the driving at European Drift Masters or whatever is better. At the end of the day, it's the most gripped up drift series in the world. They run the biggest tires of any series in the world. So people can argue the point, but that's simple as that, really. And so I'm just not sure when they don't have their, if a few other cars in that field had an accident like that, they're not making it to the next round. So if in a series that big that can't happen, are they being asked? Is too much being asked of them, as you said earlier? I think that's the question that needs to start being asked a little bit if they want to make their series sustainable. I don't think there end up being any real accidents with, not that I can remember, with the Pro 2 guys, which is probably very lucky because.
Besides Josh.
Oh yeah, sorry, my
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, there were 2 cars written off on that corner too. So there you go. Like not sure what Josh's budget is, but I think it was better than the other dudes, and both cars were fucked.
Yeah.
So, and again, like there is a point to be pushing and all that sort of stuff, but is it really worthwhile at that stage if you burn out drivers because of it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I talk top level. I don't put it past European Drift Masters being the next big thing with Red Bull TV being involved. I think it's going to be that will be the series to be part of, and I don't think they'll go the direction of FD. I don't think they'll ever let those massive tires in that series. I think it'll pretty much stay a 265 or some sort of controlled tire series if it starts to get too expensive. I don't think those guys are afraid to regulate the series to make sure that the show is consistent rather than worrying about being the biggest, fastest, most horsepower series.
I'm not sure. I haven't actually watched much of it, as I said before.
Yeah.
So...
But I just don't think. See, for me, D1 is so busy trying to be pure and trying to be true to itself and all this
No,
sort of
it's
stuff.
not. No.
Well, kind of, but I don't know. It's still.
No, they've been struggling to keep up. Like I think I might have mentioned before as well that FD is going to go down D1's way because they're going to, just like it's actually probably the same as NASCAR. Like they're just struggling to keep afloat.
Yeah, yeah. FD's tried to do its best to look after itself with not taking on major sponsorship and having heaps of small partnerships and stuff that, if you lose one, it doesn't kill you. And I think D1's still heavily involved with Toyo tires, spending a whole lot of money with them, and that's what helps keep them afloat. But other tire manufacturers coming in and all that have hurt them a little bit. But I still think they've still tried to keep doing things the way they've been doing things long term.
They would like other ones like FD where they had specific tire sponsors.
Yeah. But I think one of their major ones for a bunch of the cars was Toyo for the longest time, and I don't know if a lot of that's still there.
No, it's not. It's really weird with the tire sponsors now. Like there used to be the big name ones. Yeah, now there's like a lot of
smaller
Chinese.
Ones. Yeah. You're allowed to say it. That's where they're coming from. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think European Drift Masters will start. I don't think they'll be afraid to make changes to keep it sustainable. I think if enough drivers said, look, to keep it going, we need to change to a max 265, but this treadwear rating or blah, 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 whatever, then I don't think they'd be afraid to do it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Where FD still wants to be biggest, best, and fastest.
Yeah, well, that's the culture.
That's why they built themselves.
Yeah. I think it's just their way of thinking, so...
Yeah, don't get me wrong, they might change it. And the fact that you look at somewhere like Adam LZ's car on a 255, it's a 255S chassis over James Dean's, which is a 295 massive sidewall tyre. It'd be interesting to see, to jump on the live stream video and time a run start to finish and see how much slower the 255 is over the 295. And just see if it needs to be the way it is. Because there's a chance it doesn't need to be the way it is, because Adam's car looks hooked up as hell and it's only on a 255 that's smaller than what High Tech runs, smaller than what D1 runs, smaller than what European Drift Master runs, and that car looks fast as hell.
Yeah, it does. Like the top two, it was against the Mustang in the final, wasn't he?
Yes.
The Mustang was really fast.
The Mustang was slow. The fastest car that he got to verse was that 86 the Canadian guy Riley Sexsmith in it was an orange 86, and that was actually made for a decent battle because both those cars in their chase runs didn't have to do anything wacky because they were able to pretty much stay pinned to drive as opposed to having to do funky checkups and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think some of that stuff will start having to be looked at more and more seriously because I think it's just trying to get a big enough field of a big enough field of cars that it's sustainable with all that sort of stuff going on and the crashes and all that. So
This this last one was the last round for Pro 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it had the least amount of entrants.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because there's because of the championship where the guys are going, I got no chance to win this, I'm not even bother going?
Yeah, I think partly that. I think partly I think it would be multiple reasons. It's the furthest south of not the furthest south event, but being so far south as their last event, a lot of the guys who are from your sort of more central and northern states would have just been like, the travel's huge. The fact that the track is so dangerous. Would you drive that far south to only do? I think there's been a whole bunch of discussion on Maximum Driftcast discussion page about Pro 2 and how somebody put up, it was a failure and all this sort of stuff. And somebody's like, if you can't show up, this was from a driver who's in it, and basically said, if you can't show up and nail the track in 2 laps, don't bother showing up to a Pro 2 event.
Yeah, well, that's the same as any
Well,
sort of sort of pro comp.
FD, you guaranteed 12 laps of practice. Well, no, you're only allowed 12 laps of practice. But you've basically got enough time to get 12 laps of practice in.
Yeah.
Pro 2, you will potentially only get 2 laps of practice.
Yeah.
Because there's so many cars showing up. I think St. Louis had 60 cars or something like that. So, and yeah, I think just as the season got deeper, people just sort of, like any series, just start to drop off. So
yeah, well, that's I think that's the problem with a championship style thing where
you're not licensed and having to show up.
Yeah, and we don't have to show up, and even if when you don't have to show up, there's more of a reason not to show up because it's just a waste of money.
Yeah. Well, it's a waste of money, and the fact is a dangerous track. And if you haven't qualified all season, why would you bother showing up unless your team is super professional? And there are a few professional teams there.
Yeah.
There's the brother and sister team, and I think the brother had qualified a few times, things like that. And they're preparing themselves, getting as much seat time as they can at those tracks in gripped up cars and all that. So they have a different reason for doing it. But for the guys who are just doing it because it's a fun adventure, it starts to get, I would imagine that's part of the reason that those numbers were definitely down.
Yeah. To me, it's like central-ish. I don't know, but that's like east-west kind of thing, so...
Yeah, it's just really far south, though.
Okay.
It's east-west central, but it's yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that relates to here. Probably 2 days driving from most areas, like non-stop.
Where was Pro 2 season events? I think they started in Florida.
Most of them were on the East Coast.
East Coast.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, they all were because it was, well, pretty much like Texas was the furthest west that they went. Furthest west that they went. They did Florida, then Georgia, Indiana, I think, or it's right on the border of Illinois and Indiana, and then back down to Texas. So it was a super East Coast based series. A few people have also called that maybe Pro 2 needs to be East and West split to try and make
divisions.
Yeah, sort of when their FD's going to certain tracks, that's the Pro 2 of the one side of the country, and then you Pro 2.
This is probably going to be repeated at D1.
Yeah, in some ways. That was just, people are like, oh, it's a stepping stone, but I think they're wanting it to be its own standalone Pro Tour to be its own standalone series, and if like
D1.
yeah.
They're gonna struggle if they don't come up with a new formula.
I don't think that's necessarily true, and I think they've got probably a stronger population, and I think they've got better crowd
I think
activation.
they have a culture that would sustain it better.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Otherwise, yeah, like D1 got big at one point, and it got worldwide, like as in,
But a
they
car's
started
still cool
going,
in Japan.
huh?
A car's still cool in Japan, outside of
No,
car people.
no,
See, cars in the US are still cool,
that's
even
the
outside
culture.
car people.
Yeah, that's the culture. That's what would help them. So
See, and I think the same for Europe. Like, cars are still super
yeah,
relevant in Europe.
yeah. So
Australia, we're sort of in a really funny time, and cars are becoming way less and less trendy.
yeah,
So
that's why I said like some parts of Japan is like going the Australian way, like it's going safe and boring. So
yeah,
which sucks because they had like you had all these countries, and like Japan was like one where it's like that sort of tech culture, and like people would drive around these really crazy teched up cars, but now they're just sort of economic and safe.
yeah. But that was a government-led thing too, right?
Oh, well, it's the same thing here, but it's just when like 2 decades ago, when people talk to Japan, they go, "Yeah, I buy all my stuff, like all my tech stuff from Japan." But now everything comes from Korea or China because that's where all the tech comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. What does
And
Japan do anymore?
Japan, I think Japan's just trying to keep afloat. It's so much debt.
It's just trying to breathe.
Yeah, and then the population's aging as well, so they're trying to get people to have babies.
But okay, this is my other thought, and with the whole 3 people still listening, you can comment and argue with this shit. Started to also think, like, other than having very small feeder, not like you wouldn't even call it a feeder series, just really small series, and dotted around, um, the tentacle porn is what they have in Japan. Having little series dotted here and there, I wonder if it'll come to the point where there's just one major series in one country, and if you want to be a professional drifter, you have to go to that country, pretty much.
I'd still
Similar.
say that's like FD America at the moment.
No, of course, but that's what I'm saying. But say, if you want to play rugby league professionally, there's 2 places in the world you can play rugby league professionally. You play in Australia, you play in England. There are there are series being played in the US and all that sort of stuff. But if you want to do it full time, make good money, you go to those 2 places. If you want to be good at open wheel racing and make Formula One, you go to Europe. If you want to, and yes, there is there is anomalies to that situation, but for most people, that's what they're doing. If you want to race rally cars professionally, you go to Scandinavia. If you want to, play professional basketball and actually make proper money, you need to go to the US.
Yeah.
Those sports are still played all over the world, but to make it big time, you go to those pockets where they are. And I wonder if that's just, again, a more and more reason that you sort of, I guess that it'll sort of die off from a professional point of view, or people trying to keep doing it from a professional point of view in the smaller countries or the countries where it's less socially acceptable. It still needs to exist, of course, but yeah, that it's more about packing up and moving and it not coming to you. But I guess you probably agree with that too.
Yes.
Why do you think a FD Japan works better than, or is currently working sort of better in some ways than a D1, or do you think it's just the fact that FD Japan is more grassroots based?
I think it's more the crowd that's watching. Because from what I heard locally, it's not doing anywhere near as good as D1. They get
Really?
pretty much no crowd. There's no
But I think,
advertising. People
but I
don't know
think
it's
it's
on.
yeah, but I think it's more the fact that it's getting a sustainable number of drivers showing up, and I think it's more of a DCA style thing where it's the drivers entering that are keeping that series alive, and it seems to get a decent number of drivers entering.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the drivers that are keeping it alive. I don't think the
Well, that's what I mean, though.
spectators, and that's it. Like, it's not really. I really. It'd be interesting to go and see how everything's run there.
Yeah, both are run. I know the
Just to
D1 round I went to, like, but that was
compare
5 years ago. There wasn't really much of a crowd.
it in D1.
Yeah,
Because I go to the one at Ibisu, and then
yeah,
I actually had I was in Japan when they had the last round of FD Japan.
yeah.
But I didn't go because it was a bit. It was just outside of like my. It was the day
Catchment
before I
area.
left. Yeah, day before I left, and it was just a little bit outside of like I can get to it, and then spend a decent time and then come back in a
Yeah.
day. So yeah, I kind of want to go just to see what it's like because a lot of people say that it's not like D1, and D1's definitely better than FD Japan. It's just that it's economically better for a driver.
FD is.
Yeah, FD
Yeah,
Japan.
yeah. Well, because you got more chance of qualifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, though. This is what I'm talking from that side, like crowd activation and sponsorship dollars and all that. Yeah, I'm sure D1's better, but that's great for your top 8 to 16 guys.
Yeah, top 16. That's it.
Yeah. So the rest is sort of you're scraping the barrel for whatever you can get at that stage, and sort of hope that you can eat and drive the next day.
Yeah, and then with I guess the reduction in popularity of that sort of driving culture, there's not as much um material about drifting.
Well, yeah, that and yeah,
So like magazines, DVDs, like they got rid of Dory10. That's not like as in the DVD. Even though they didn't really have D1 in there, but still like it's yeah a big part of drifting to have a DVD series that was quite big before, but it's now reduced. Like the production is reduced quite a lot, and only on YouTube.
no point on a white boy doing D1 though. That's what Luke said.
I don't think. Oh no, that Italian guy did it, and
Sharifo.
yeah, and Jake Jones did it as well.
Yeah, that was ages ago though.
Yeah, they didn't get very far.
Yeah. Do you think it'll ever come back? Like, do you think the popularity in drifting in Japan will ever be back?
No,
But that's what I figured the answer would be. But
no,
better coming from you than me.
no. Still, like I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because there's other things on, like people. There's more things that entertain them as opposed to just cars, or yeah, I don't know. I think it's the culture.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly think the sustainability is going to come from America and Europe, really.
Yeah, I think if we see a shift here in Australia, and whatever that shift is, like towards being more interested in cars, like the whole country as a
Yeah.
whole, I think that'd be this similar thing would need to happen in Japan for
Yeah.
yeah, because it's just, I mean, like there's a lot of people there that are still into cars and they're still hardcore. Like there's
Yeah.
so many way more hardcore people into cars in Japan than here. Like the amount is crazy.
Yeah,
Like
it's a higher population, so it's to be expected.
and then yeah, their hardcore is like insane. Like when someone's into drifting, they'll just like live, breathe.
Yeah.
Everything's drifting. That have yeah, everything. Like here, I think you'd sort of talk about it, and maybe you might find a guy that's kind of looks like he's into it. And next week, it's like, no, it's on the car. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, or like, oh, I got a girlfriend now, or something like
What are you talking about Revo guys for?
that. Got engaged,
Yeah, doing all that sort of shit.
or my motor blew up, so.
No, I think isn't that all of the above for Nick?
or I want to start my own business, and
Oh, that's just selfish.
then. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's
and
sad, but yeah, I think that's what's
well,
happening.
and we say it like we say it, but it doesn't mean we don't think it's not sustainable. But it just means the people who are within it have got to be the ones breathing life into it. Don't expect it to be there if
Yeah,
people don't keep participating, basically.
yeah, you got to bring in more people, um, get it going again. Like you got to, was it
I
stoke
don't,
the fire, or like
but
put more.
yeah, but I just don't. Yeah, I don't think it has to be like we need mass population coming in, but it's like for the few select events that are happening each year that those numbers are, they're full, and then don't oversupply a market pretty much.
Yeah,
So that there's justification to keep doing it.
yeah,
You're like, no,
yeah.
I
I'd be
want
interested to
drifting every
see
day.
what yeah, how Europe will actually be drifting wise in a few years. I mean, in 5, 10 years.
Yeah, I think the Eastern European countries will keep it alive for a lot longer. They're still sort of in that different mindset where it's like I'm going to do the things I like because I like doing them, and you can have a cry about the environment or climate or whatever, but we're still just going to keep living life the way we want to live life.
Yeah,
Where I think Japan's had that massive slide, and Australia's the same, where it's safety, climate change, look after the animals, don't do anything too reckless, make sure you keep yourself alive, like all this sort of stuff. And it's like, you're only here for, 100 years if you're lucky to have fun.
hmm. Even
So,
still, like probably when you're 70 or 80, you wouldn't be able to do very much, and then you couldn't even, or unless you get fortunate and you get people that support you, you wouldn't start driving until maybe 2025. So it's not really kind of not
yeah. You got
not
a
as much as 100 years.
25, yeah,
Yeah,
25 to 35-year buffer to get some shit done that you enjoy doing, and then you can worry about the consequences after that.
yeah, pretty
Like,
much.
so, uh, but yeah, uh, I guess FD rolls into their last round in a month, so we'll see how that championship pans out, and the fact that James Dean is on track for a three-peat. I think
Is
Osbo's
he has he got a big margin between
nah.
first
There's
and second?
less than 100 points between the top five, but
I don't
pretty
even know
much.
what that means. Is that
Well,
a
I think
big spread or is it a tiny spread?
I think if you win a weekend and don't qualify first, you get 100 points.
What's second?
That's a good question.
Is it like 90 or 80?
Yeah, it's something like that. So
Okay, so
I
it's
think
still pretty
my
close.
understanding is that if pretty much as if the top two guys qualify, like make a run, yeah, James and Osbo are 19 points apart, and then it's 67 points from first to third, 68 to fourth, and then 94 down to Forsberg. But I think pretty much as long as Frederick and James make it through like the first round or qualify, then they've got enough points to, uh,
First, second.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh, and then, yeah, it'll really just come down to those two. And Frederick doesn't have great history with Owendale. He's lost the championship for multiple reasons there multiple times. So the couple of years that he won it, I think he had secured it got before Owendale.
Yeah.
Showing up to Owendale, he'd already won it, sort of thing.
And the last time James Dean he got knocked out, didn't he? It depended
He
on
got knocked
someone
out
else's.
early,
It
and
depended on someone else's results to
yeah,
actually see if he
well,
won the championship or not.
Osbo had to win because James got knocked out so early. Osbo had to win the event, and Vaughn Gittin Jr. took him to 3 one more times and ended up beating him, and that was enough for James to win the championship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Do you reckon James gonna win this year again?
yeah, I think so. It's his card didn't get fucked up over the weekend, so like let's see if Osbo's car can even
Make it.
what car he shows up in.
Is it really that bad?
It sounds like it was pretty. Supposedly the subframe was cracked and the whole mounting points were shifted and a few other bits and pieces. So yeah, it didn't look that great.
Just put in a chassis jig and just pull it back straight.
I'm not sure that's real
America
easy.
would have.
I'm just not sure that's
and
that.
then cut out the
I'm not sure you're actually
the.
supposed to do that with a car that's got a welded in roll cage though.
No, you do it in secret, of course. Like you don't tell anyone. And then you cut the cage out and then put a new cage in to reinforce whatever you bent back to shape.
That's a big task in 4 weeks. Well, it's probably 3.5 weeks by the time they get the car back in the workshop because there's a couple of days to get the car back across. So
Where's the garage?
they're in California, so they don't need any travel time to get it to. I think they're actually in the back of. Well, they used to be in the back of AEM's warehouse. So the brand that does some boost controllers and airflow, air fuel ratio gauges and all that sort of stuff, ECUs. But I don't know if they're still there, but that's where they used to be.
Okay.
So sort of their side deal with those guys was basically just to be given space in their warehouse. But yeah, I'm just interested to see if that car shows up again. So
they'll figure something out. Maybe they'll just they'll make one side longer arms and try to
the other just try and get it to drive straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you didn't. So we'll start finishing up on this. You didn't like that track, and the only reason you didn't really like that track is more so where they put clipping points and zones and not liking the track itself. Because it had.
I think I commented about it last year about how I think they could have run it a bit differently, but then
they changed it from last year.
Yeah, it reduced the amount of corners.
But it's got 3 corners. It only has 3. You just do the first and the second. Well, it used to only be 2, really. Well, kind of.
Yeah, but no, I think if they use that course, yeah, it's fine for pro. But I thought the clips were in the wrong spot, especially you can't really the sweeper can't really do much about that.
Yeah, they ran. Well, they changed it from the sweeper. They changed from last year. It used to have an inner clip on that first sweeper, and now they ran the outside
the
way around.
The lines through towards the end of the sweeper.
Yeah.
To mark the inside.
Yeah, but that's gone now.
Yeah, and they kept them wide, which I think is better. But
yeah.
Then it
makes it more difficult to make that stretch, though. It makes it more difficult to make the distance between the next 2 outside zones.
The way the course actually runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it means that they've got to kind of that's
straighten
probably why Denofa was doing such a slow, and there's so many cars are doing really slow switches.
So that switch back. So the transition across the track was the one that you didn't like.
Well, all of them Denofa, especially if you watched him for not every run, but a lot of his runs, the switches are really slow. But then you get Adam LZ was quick. If you watch his switches, they were snappy.
Yeah, but he also sent a punch the shit out of that inside clip a few times because of it.
Yeah, but I think that's because of where the clips are set up, and maybe you can't see because that was in in the video, it looked like a dark spot. Like there was nothing really lighting
Well,
that up.
it's funny you say that because I don't know how many people sat and watched the whole event, but there was an interview with Peter just before he had the massive accident, and he's like, through that switchback section,
Yeah.
like, like what they call the power alley section.
Yeah.
He said you can't see shit, and you could see like genuine like sort of like awkward smile on his face, like you could tell he probably pissed his pants every time he drove through there.
Oh, so you actually can't see it.
He said he said in the car on that switchback is dark as hell and sketchy.
Yeah. Well, I said because I think I wouldn't be able to see. I
Yeah,
think the cameras make up for part of it.
yeah. He
But
said
it was
yeah, it's not.
dark. Like there's no lights there. Like you see, there's lights around that big sweeper, and there's lights along the wall.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I think some of the people like they looked like they had so much confidence switching, and then at that point they go, "Shit, I'm on the wrong part of the course to do that switch," and then they've just tried to extend it, and then they've screwed up. So yeah, I wouldn't be too critical with that unless it affected further down somehow.
Yeah.
Um, and I probably would have put that barrel like further in as well, so you wouldn't constantly be hitting it because that thing did damage to some cars.
Oh, they're pretty. It's like thick plastic. It's not
Yes,
not
some of
the
the
lightest thing.
cars was okay, but other cars is like a front quarter was pretty damaged, and yeah. So I don't know what that go with that corner is. I'd like to see it in person because I reckon I wouldn't be able to see it at night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just slanty eyes too. But not enough lights getting in. The
No.
aperture's too small, mate.
No. But yeah, the clips I think were not right after the sweeper.
Yeah.
Especially the wall section. So I think it needed to be further down, like way further down.
Yeah, but I agree with that. But if they weren't going to run that stupid inner clip and ran an outer through the last corner instead of the fucking inner,
Yeah.
I think the inner on the last corner is stupid. But I think if that outer zone was a little bit later too, then you would probably throw more angle at it because you'd be using angle to slow up the car rather than not being sure how much speed you're coming through the first inner and then switching back to then trying to carry enough speed through the inner.
Yeah, and I think it actually makes the approach a little bit better.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And less risky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would have run it differently. It'd be nice just like to cut that sort of sweeper maybe
Well,
if it's pushed up a bit, like as in like if they redid the are they cut throughs or are they just
nah,
were parking
nah,
area or something?
yeah, it's just like it's parking.
Yeah, so if
Well,
they did the sweeper like halfway down.
yeah, yeah. If you could sort of shrink it and just take out part of how far you've got to extend between the sweeper and the transition section would
Yeah.
be better. But
Yeah.
nature of the track they've got, uh, and yeah, a lot of people were commenting like getting blinded in the smoke. But that's the problem with the sport now, and any section with shallow angle where somebody's had massive bake on before a shallow section, because then they just you're on shallow angle driving directly into smoke rather than being able to tuck just inside of the smoke.
Yeah, you get lost.
Yeah, muscle memory and pray, and
Yeah,
hope
and
that
then
you don't write off your $100,000 race car.
I thought the comments were inconsistent too. Not YouTube comments, but like the comments made by the commentator and the judges.
Yeah, you don't like either of them anyway, so
No, well the commentator, I understand the role of his job is to hype things up, but
yeah.
man, this guy needs to understand about drifting a bit more. I think what they should do? They should get Dave over there. They've
No,
cut
I think he knows enough, but I think it's just I think some of it's dumbed down to use it as hype. So
Yeah, but don't dumb it down that much. It's
yeah, sometimes you got to take your drift nerd hat off and just
yeah,
look
but
at it from
Dave does
a
it well. Like he
casual
inserts
point
this
of view.
knowledge. He inserts knowledge at really good spots, and I think he's got a way better understanding of this guy.
Oh yeah, because Dave's a driver, so
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So final round, a few weeks away. We'll talk shit about that. It's the same week as World Time Attack. We're still waiting for the pools to be drawn for
Yes.
that, and we'll have a prediction episode like we did last year, where
Yep. We get the guys
I
on.
kicked all your asses, bitches. Uh, the Australian Drift Nerd. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Maybe we'll get FinCon in before the end of the year. Now that we mentioned it earlier in the show, but he wasn't listening. That sounds like there's a 2020 season of DCA going down, so it'll be interesting to hear what the plan is for that. It'll be good when they've got the spec V35 350Z class going. I'm excited for that one.
Oh man, we saw this wreck the other day. Really hope that he messages back because it's $1,000 and it didn't look like much damage.
Yeah, the problem is it's the plastic radiator support and bits and pieces like that they get broken in those accidents, and they're pretty easy to fix. Like they
Yeah.
literally just bolt on and bolt off. Like the whole
Yeah.
front is just bolt on, bolt off, and if it's that sort of stuff, it's not so bad.
Yeah, but that's the cars we need. Like we need those Zeds at $1,000 to actually
Yeah.
keep things running smoothly.
Sustainably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we just need a series with a whole bunch of them.
Nah, just have a mix. Mix is fine. I don't mind.
I don't know. Spec series would be fun.
Yeah, well, it'd be a Falcon then.
Yeah, I know. But then everybody needs massive tow cars to be able to tow them around.
No, you drive them to the track. They have to be regoed.
They've got a few that have to be regoed. And they've got to have 700,000 kilometers on the odometer.
Why so low? How are you gonna find one that low?
Oh, sorry, you got to find one that's only got 100,000, but that's because it's because it's ticked over once. Yeah, it seems fair. But yeah. Oh yeah, other news we didn't share that happened really quickly was the fact that Archerfield's pits got paved.
Oh yeah.
As well, and that was like
quick some live streams of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that was quick turnaround from Luke on that one. He'd been talking about it for ages, and then all of a sudden was like, "Hey, big announcement!" And like 2 days later, they're doing it. So definitely make things more enjoyable, I think, up there. Even though I just loved coming back and your toolbox, your face, your nostrils, your ears, every part of your car being covered with dirt from the pits was always good.
Has he skidded that area already?
Nah, there'll be no skidding in that because it's bitumen, not.
Oh really? Or is that like secret skidding?
Nah, because it's only like where they lay down tar, or like they put down tar and then put the rocks in it, and then so it's like.
Oh, it's like chip seal.
Yeah, sort of thing. Yeah. Not actual full asphalt. Being finalized completely this Friday. All right, Luke will let us. Oh, that's the pits he's talking about. I thought he meant the series. I was like, oh fuck, I'm keen. Let me know what's going on. But nah, I got ahead of myself there. I'm thinking selfishly as opposed to maybe EG will compete next year. So the judge. Yeah.
I doubt it.
I know.
Maybe 3 years time.
3 years time, mate. Drifting's to be fucking dead by then.
No, it's not. I'm gonna keep drifting.
I'm joking.
Some way or another.
Yeah.
Fine.
Tearing up the mountains of Mexico.
So no, it's fine. We'll see. See how it happens in a few years.
Maybe you'll be good one day.
Yeah, hopefully. Still beginner. Oh yeah, the beginner day was announced as well for all the New South Wales people interested in.
It's probably way too late for anybody who's beginnerish, but maybe we should talk about that next week.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else? Or should we wrap this up with the 3 people watching?
Probably 4
Right.
people.
4 people? Yeah,
Yeah.
probably 4. Jake, Luke, and our best mate, and probably he's probably still watching.
Yeah, probably.
Still being watched. We know you're watching. You can put the box of tissues away, mate. It's just hard being handsome, EG.
Yeah, I know.
EG and I, like when I went down and had dinner with EG in Canberra, we just had to carry around sticks just to beat all the girls away from us. We just couldn't keep them away. Yeah, Luke, you say 7, but EG's one, I'm
Yeah.
another.
Yeah.
The podcast needs more Connor Sev merch. Yeah, fuck off, mate. Maybe one day we should get Connor on the live streams.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck
Maybe.
him. He doesn't really drift anyway.
He can teach you about drifting.
He can teach me about drifting.
Yeah. We figured out he's a very good explainer of things.
Clearly, you're not.
I
He's
know.
a very good explainer of things.
Yep. So that's why whenever we had to in Japan, we had to sort of say, speak to a Japanese person about how something works or how the situation is. Just hand it over to Connor rather than
Fair
Jake. Jake's just way too bogan.
All right. Well, let's wrap this shit up.
Okay, cool. Well,
All right. We'll catch you guys next week, maybe,
next
probably.
week. Yeah, hopefully. Should be the lead up to the Marulin Day. So
Yeah.
get my car running.
Get your car running, and
Yeah.
this weekend is European Drift Masters final and Drift Games Extreme final. So big weekend with that.
Probably be doing car work. So
Yeah, we'll just put your laptop out there with it going after the fact with a replay or something.
yeah, I'll try.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
We'll catch you guys next week.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.